discuss issues relating to security in the wider Black Sea region, which of course is an area that is of huge importance to Romania. Bogdan Aurescu is a career diplomat. He's been Minister of Foreign Affairs of Romania since November 2019. Prior to that, he was the presidential advisor for foreign policy to the President of Romania. He's an experienced university professor, and this also includes teaching international public law, international organizations and relations at the University of Bucharest, and he has a PhD in legal science. You're very welcome, Minister. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. It's a great pleasure, and I'm honored to be invited in your series of events, EPC Talks Geopolitics. It's a great pleasure for me to be here.
Thank you. Well, we look forward to the discussion. Let me ask you, why don't you explain to us how you see the importance of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization, the BSEC, in the context of the current Black Sea geopolitical and security environment? And I think we've just had elected a Romanian diplomat, Lazar Comunescu, as Secretary General of the organization.
Yes, indeed. Lazar Comunescu, a very good colleague of mine and a very seasoned diplomat, former foreign minister, but also former presidential advisor for foreign policy. He was my predecessor in this capacity, and he's a very experienced diplomat specialized in economic relations at the same time, which is a very good match for BSEC. Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization is in fact a regional full-fledged organization, the most important regional organization in the Black Sea region, which focuses on promoting, fostering economic cooperation in the region. Last year, Romania has exercised the chairmanship in office of BSEC for a full year. Usually the mandate is for 6 months, but because of specific conditions, not only related to the pandemic, but also to a certain misunderstanding at the moment as far as the succession of future presidencies, we have assumed a double mandate. And at the same time, we managed to solve this issue of successive presidencies, which was, well, a good outcome of our chairmanship in office, among others. But this organization has a specific role in a very well complex environment, which we all know in the Black Sea region. And it includes 13 member states. The last one, in fact, the most recent one, because we expect perhaps others to join, if possible, was the Republic of North Macedonia last year, the 13th member during our chairmanship in office. And because it includes basically all riparians, but not only in the Black Sea region, in the wider Black Sea region, it has an important role in order to promote dialogue, because we all know that there are a lot of differences between the various member states of the organization, and which are also, of course, the Black Sea region states. And the organization has this role of a platform for dialogue, promoting the culture of dialogue, even in this very difficult environment. Well, this is a very important, tool in well promoting understanding. At the same time, a tool of diffusing tensions among the member states. So we have a permanent and extensive institutional cooperation framework, which covers all levels of governance. We have legal status, we have inclusiveness, there is local ownership, and the agenda in the economic area is quite comprehensive. At the same time, as I mentioned, the election of the new Secretary General allow us to focus on promoting more the economic features of this organization and the profile of this organization, and promoting more the necessary cohesion in the region. As a matter of fact, our presidency last year focused on promoting cohesion in the region. The motto of this Romanian chairmanship, which was the sixth one, was bridging shores, enhancing cohesion. And we tried to to promote and project a positive and consensual and forward-looking agenda among the member states. One, let's say, example of this effort of ours was the fact that we managed to promote the adoption of UN BISEC cooperation resolution during the 75th session of the UN General Assembly, which was sponsored by all member states of the organization. One of the important areas where we should focus, and I think this is something that you are very much aware of, is the development of the BISEC-EU relationship. And this was another very important, let's say, element in the mandate of Romania as chair in office of the organization last year. We tried to promote a better relationship with the EU, and I'm confident that the new Secretary General will do its best to continue this efforts. We also try to promote a partnership policy of the organization, because it is worth mentioning that 8 EU member states are also observers of BISEC. All in all, there are 17 observers. So I'm quite confident that the organization has a lot of potential. Again, there are a lot of differences between and among the member states, but having this platform is something positive. And sometimes we discuss among ourselves in the Black Sea region what would have happened if such an organization would not have existed. Perhaps the environment would have been more complicated.
I'm sure. What would you like to see from the European Union in this future relationship? What ways do you think that the EU can make a positive contribution to dialogue and understanding in the region?
Well, during the presidency of Romania of the Council of the European Union in 2019, we have promoted also from that perspective the relationship between EU and BISEC, and more involvement of the EU in the Black Sea area. As you know, there is an instrument which is called the Black Sea Synergy. And within that framework, we have promoted and succeeded in the adoption of 2 very important documents. One is the Common Maritime Agenda of the region, which was adopted by all the riparian states, including the Republic of Moldova, including Russia, including all the other member states of the organization, and the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. Both these documents are focused on promoting the blue economy. And it is a sort of a guideline for blue economy stakeholders, both public and private. It's also a guide for promoting investments, for promoting more business in the region, and of course promoting the principles of the blue economy. And especially during this context of efforts for recovery after the pandemic, I think such kind of instruments are very useful and allow for the EU to be more present with financing, with guidance as far as economic projects are concerned, as far as connectivity is concerned. So there is plenty of room for more EU involvement in the Black Sea region.
I think you recently had a trilateral meeting, Romania, Poland, and Turkey, where also the foreign ministers of Ukraine and Georgia participated. What were the results, and what will be the next steps? Is this a format you wish to pursue?
Well, this trilateral has an interesting history. It was created back in 2012, so there are already 9 years of existence. Romania, Poland, and Turkey are very good strategic partners bilaterally. So it was my idea back in 2009 to start thinking on the creation of such a format. And in 2012, the first meeting of this trilateral on security issues took place in the margins of the Chicago summit, of the NATO summit in Chicago. And since then, we have had a lot of meetings. We have raised in 2016 the level of meetings at the level of foreign ministers, and we are meeting yearly since then. And we are discussing on how to coordinate our efforts within NATO, because this is a platform for supporting the efforts within the alliance. On one hand, and on the other hand, we analyze and compare notes and try to consider acting together as far as the security evolutions in the region. The trilateral, which was held in Bucharest on the 22nd and 23rd of April, took place at a very timely moment, especially because of the security evolutions in and around Ukraine. This massive deployment of Russian troops in the illegally occupied Crimea and also at the eastern border of Ukraine raised a lot of concern among NATO allies, but also among the regional actors. And one of the main objectives of ours was, on one hand, to analyze together which are the reasons, and on the other hand, what to do in order to block future similar events in the region, to see how we can de-escalate the security situation. It was basically the moment when this security crisis was at its peak, and at the same time, we consider that it is extremely important to invite our partners, Georgia and Ukraine, to attend our meeting. And we had a special session together with the foreign ministers of Georgia and Ukraine. And we have expressed on that occasion our full support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine and of Georgia. We have expressed our support for their Euro-Atlantic aspirations, and we have discussed together with them what are the practical means to support their efforts in order to become more resilient, in order to help them enhance their defense capabilities, and move forward towards their Euro-Atlantic integration goals. As you know, there is a comprehensive package of measures for Georgia already adopted within the alliance. There is a similar package of substantive assistance for Ukraine as well. And within those frameworks, we can, of course, do a lot of things together, and we can discuss how to improve this kind of assistance. We have also discussed a lot about what is now on the Euro-Atlantic agenda, on the Allied agenda, which is the preparation for the incoming NATO summit on the 14th of June. And it was a very good moment for us to discuss and to see that both Romania, Poland, but also Turkey support the same approach towards the NATO summit on the 14th of June, especially as far as our support for the NATO 2030 reflection process, which is coordinated by the Secretary General Stoltenberg. We are, the three of us, allies supporting the decision to start the negotiation process for a new strategic concept of the alliance. We have discussed about the importance of resilience within NATO, because this will be also on the top of the NATO summit agenda, and of course on the discussion for the new strategic concept. And we have also discussed about how to support further our partners. And if we speak about NATO's partners, we speak about EU on one hand, but we have focused on the partners in the region, especially in the Black Sea region. And that's why this is one more reason why to have both Ukraine and Georgia together with us. So all in all, it was sort of a mini summit of 5 foreign ministers of the region, convening in Bucharest for 1 day and a half. And I think it was very successful. At the end of the meeting, Poland, Romania, and Turkey adopted and signed a joint statement that is encapsulating the results of our discussions. And in that piece of paper, in that important document, we express our support for the NATO 2030 process, for the new strategic concept, and for these concepts that I have mentioned, including enhancing the resilience of the alliance, of the allies, and also of the partners. And on this note, I would like to mention the fact that Romania is preparing the operationalization of a center for resilience in Bucharest, the Euro-Atlantic Center for Resilience, which is meant to help the allies, but also the EU member states, and the partners to become more resilient in various areas. We are working now on the mission statement of the center, which is going to be designed around the 7 principles regarding resilience, which are already adopted within NATO, but we will develop this even further. We will focus on training and assistance for the partners. We will collect within this center best practices and lessons learned. I hope that this will be a very good tool for the alliance also. So this is in a nutshell what we have achieved in Bucharest during this trilateral meeting, which again took place at a very timely moment, taking into account the security situation in the region, but also as far as the efforts towards preparing for a very good NATO summit on the 14th of June in Brussels.
Well, I was just going to say, of course, this will be Mr. Biden's first NATO summit. How do you see relations with the new administration? I mean, the Trump administration was extremely active in being supportive of the 3 Cs initiative, as I recall. But how are contacts going with the new administration, and what kind of policies are you expecting from them in this area?
Well, I think for if we speak about the future NATO summit and the participation of President Biden, I think this will be a great opportunity for us to strengthen the unity, solidarity, and cohesion of the alliance, but also the transatlantic link, because the transatlantic partnership is the backbone of NATO and the backbone of Article 5 of the alliance. And we have discussed this also during our trilateral meeting in Bucharest. But indeed, this is also one of the most important priorities that we have for the NATO summit in June. As far as our bilateral relationship with the United States, as you know, Romania and the United States enjoy a very strong strategic partnership. This year, we celebrate the 10th anniversary of a very important document, which I had the honor to negotiate 10 years ago on behalf of Romania. It's a joint declaration on the strategic partnership for the 21st century between Romania and the United States. And also the 10th anniversary of the agreement on the deployment of the ballistic missile defense system of the United States in Romania, which is now fully integrated within the NATO ballistic missile defense system. So these are, well, very good occasions and opportunities for us to further discuss with our US friends about how to enhance the security in the region, but also to see how to develop even more our strategic partnership. I had a very extensive discussion with the Secretary of State Blinken. In fact, I had 2 meetings, one in person during the NATO Foreign Affairs Ministerial in March, and then a week after, 40 minutes phone conversation with Secretary Blinken. And we have discussed in details the parameters and dimensions of our strategic partnership with the United States. As a matter of fact, President Biden knows very well Romania. As a vice president, he visited Romania twice, in 2009 and in 2014. Secretary Blinken also knows very well Romania, and the other colleagues in the State Department also know very well Romania. Torian Nuland, for instance, recently confirmed as Undersecretary for Political Affairs, and many other key actors in the State Department and in the Pentagon. They know very well Romania. So I have no doubt that our strategic partnership will continue to develop, and there are several dimensions. One important dimension is the security and military dimension. We have a very strong security cooperation with the United States, and we continue to discuss, including in the context of the process of reviewing the global posture of the United States as far as the military presence in the world, including in the Black Sea region and including in Romania, for an enhanced military presence of the United States on the territory of Romania in the southern part of the eastern flank of the Black Sea. I think the recent security evolutions in the Black Sea area are one more argument in favor of an enhanced presence of the US and the NATO allies in the southern part of the eastern flank. We have also extended in the last years our cooperation in the fields of energy, 5G, cybersecurity. So there are a lot of areas where we have very good prospects of enhancing and developing our cooperation with the United States. As far as the economic cooperation is concerned, you mentioned the 3Cs initiative, and this is an important instrument, an important tool which allows for the countries in the region, in the 3Cs initiative region, to work towards more economic development. First, this is one important objective of the initiative, and the main tool for enhancing the economic development is through increased connectivity. We have well noted the fact that between the north and the south of the 3Cs initiative region, there are no good connections. So we promote projects like Rail to Sea, which is a railway connecting the Romanian port of Constanța to the Polish port of Gdansk, or Via Carpathia, which is a road connection of a similar kind. And we hope that the United States will join in supporting the financing of this very strategic projects. At the same time, this initiative is also meant to increase convergence within the European Union, because if we manage to promote the economic development of this region, which is part of the European Union, as a matter of fact, the participants to the 3Cs initiative are 12 EU member states from this part of the European Union. So if we manage so, that means that the level of convergence will increase, and the gap between the development of this part of the EU and the rest of the EU will diminish. And third, it's a very good instrument to promote the transatlantic link, taking into account this high interest of the United States to be involved in the 3Cs initiative. And the US has been involved since the very beginning, and the new administration already expressed its renewed support for the 3Cs initiative. And we hope that this support will also be visible in terms of financial support as well.
Very good. Perhaps now we can open the floor for questions from our viewers, so to speak. I understand that Jamie Shea would like to ask a question. Jamie, are you online?
David, I'm definitely online. Can you hear me? Sorry, everybody always has to start asking that question.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, fantastic. Well, David, thanks very much for giving me the floor. Minister Aurescu, great to see you today. You already broached the subject that I wanted to ask you a question about, which is the NATO summit and the security arrangements for the Black Sea region. Two questions, if I may. The first is that would you like to see, as part of the enhanced presence that you described, something akin to what NATO has in the Baltic states with multinational battalions? If so, how many? And you suggested that it would be good if the US could increase its presence. Any indication that other allies such as the UK, France, Germany might be willing to contribute to that? And also, Minister, on the day when we hear the good news that the EU is inviting the United States, Canada, and Norway to join the PESCO military mobility project, are you satisfied that NATO has good mobility arrangements, not just to get to the Baltic states in the event of a crisis, but to get to the Black Sea region as well? And David, if you would indulge me for an extremely quick follow-up question, Minister.
Jamie, you're pushing your luck. Go ahead.
All right, I promise to be quick. Minister, you mentioned, of course, what Russia is currently doing in the Black Sea, particularly the exclusion zone that's been now imposed up in the north. What can NATO do to prevent Russia turning the Black Sea into a Russian lake? Do we need more NATO naval deployments in the Black Sea? So, David, thanks for indulging me. Over and out. I look forward to the Minister's answers.
Thank you, Jamie. Minister, I'm afraid 3 questions there. I leave it to you to decide how you manage, whether you deal with all 3. Any one of them could take a while, but please go ahead.
Well, these are very pertinent and very good questions, because as we discussed the NATO summit in June, I think it's important that we mention the fact that Romania is one of the great supporters of enhancing the deterrence and defense on the eastern flank. And this is, well, on one hand, this is due to the constant military build-up in the past years in the Black Sea region, especially in Crimea, but not only. But we have also seen what happened recently in and around Ukraine. So these are very good arguments in, having a more robust, more consolidated deterrence and defense posture of NATO on the eastern flank. And indeed, there are still disparities between the north and the south of the eastern flank. In the north, we can see a lot of attention paid by allies, and to be frank, also by Romania, because we have also committed and we participate with an air defense company in Poland. And there is also a Polish company deployed in Romania in the southern part of the eastern flank within the framework of the multinational brigade that we host in Craiova in Romania. And we would like to see indeed more allies joining the multinational brigade in Romania. We have Poland on the ground. We have some units which are affiliated from certain member states, from Portugal, from Italy, and others. But we need more presence on the ground. At the same time, we can witness in the past years an increase of naval presence in the Black Sea. And indeed, more NATO ships are coming, and we are organizing together a lot of joint exercises. Of course, there is a limitation which is imposed by the Montreux Convention, and only 21 days are allowed for foreign military vessels to stay in the Black Sea. But if we have a constant rotation and a multiplication of the NATO military presence in the Black Sea, and we have seen that already happening in the past years, I think that we can say that there is indeed an important and relevant naval presence of NATO in this region. Of course, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't do more. And I think it's important during the NATO summit, during the discussions when we will negotiate the next NATO strategic concept. I think consolidating the deterrence and defense on the eastern flank, including in the Black Sea, so in the southern part of the eastern flank, this would be of great relevance for Romania, for this part of the region, but also for the, of course, for NATO as a whole, because as it is mentioned in the the most recent communiques of the NATO summits, the Black Sea security is an integral part of the Euro-Atlantic security. So more deterrence and defense posture, I think it's important. We have also witnessed an increased presence as far as air policing is concerned, but we need to plan for the future years as well. And we are grateful to those allies who are coming with not only with their navies, but also with their airplanes to air patrol in the airspace of Romania and of Bulgaria, so in the Black Sea region. So I think I have covered all three questions at the same time. No, the mobility. Indeed, we don't enjoy the level of military mobility that we need. That's why projects of connecting the northern part and the southern part of the eastern flank, which as a matter of fact coincide with the northern part and the southern part of the Three Seas Initiative region, are very important. So we need such projects. And when I mentioned Rail to Sea and Via Carpathia, I want to say that these two projects are also relevant not only for the economic development of the region through enhanced connectivity, but also as far as the military mobility is concerned. So having enhanced mobility between the northern part and the southern part of the eastern flank is a must. And we have to do more as far as ensuring the cohesion of the eastern flank. It's for sure that Russia sees the eastern flank as a whole unit, as a unitary flank. We have to see it as well.
Thank you very much, Minister. I have a question now from Denis Matveev of the Marty Asari Peace Foundation, but which I'd like to link with one of my own. Denis's question is, what do you see as the most effective role for the EU in relation to the protracted conflicts in the EU's eastern neighborhood. I would just like to add a rider to that, perhaps. What is you mentioned Russia, and of course Russia comes up a lot these days, particularly now with what is happening in Ukraine and the increased military presence. How threatened does Romania feel, and how should we interpret Russia's intentions? And then in that context, to go back to Dennis's question, what's the most effective way for the EU to respond to Russia's behavior?
Well, to start with the second question, we don't feel threatened. I mean, Romania is a NATO ally, is part of the alliance. The alliance is the most successful and powerful military alliance in history. So we don't feel threatened, but at the same time, we are concerned that when we see such a massive deployment of troops, such a show of military force in the region, and we can't help asking ourselves what's the reason for that. What kind of pressure Russia would like to for us to feel as NATO allies in the region? Because if Jamie, she asked us about a Black Sea as a Russian lake. Because of the NATO allies which are riparian to the Black Sea, Black Sea is partly a NATO lake as well, if I may say so. So we cannot give up to be present there as far as an alliance. And I think it's important that we continue to promote our values in this region. So I think it's very important that NATO continues to, again, enhance the deterrence and defense in this area. At the same time, the protracted conflicts do represent, a threat to the regional security. And not only to the regional security, taking into account the links between the Black Sea security and the Euro-Atlantic security in general. So we see, a chain of, protracted conflicts, which have a lot of consequences upon the security in general, but also on the level of development of the states which are, directly affected, whose territorial integrity is, menaced by this, frozen protracted conflicts. Well, protracted conflicts, perhaps it's better than frozen, because we can see that from time to time they become very hot. And last year's evolutions regarding Nagorno-Karabakh, I think, were a very clear example of how these frozen conflicts can ignite and become very hot. And in that context, discussing about the EU role, we have noticed that the EU had basically no important leverages in influencing the resolution of the respective situation. So my initiative was, together with other 10 colleagues, foreign ministers of EU member states, back in November to sign a letter and send it to the High Representative Josep Borrell, asking for a debate on frozen conflicts, on protracted conflicts, to be included on a future agenda of a future Foreign Affairs Council. And I'm glad to inform you that this meeting, this discussion will take place during the Gimnich, the informal meeting of foreign ministers at the end of May in Portugal. And we will discuss about the role of the EU in becoming perhaps more influential or enhancing the role of the EU as far as the resolution of this protracted conflicts. Because I think it's important to see what kind of tools we have already, what kind of instruments we have at our disposal as a European Union, and see how we can use them in a more effective manner, in a more integrated manner, in order to be active in solving such conflicts and crises. We should stop becoming just a payer, and we should also become a player in this area. And I think if we speak about the EU global role, I think EU cannot be really a global actor unless it becomes influential in its own neighborhood. And I think the stake of this debate that we will have, and I think the Gimnich format is very very good for such kind of a discussion, because it will allow for a lot of exchanges and ideas. I think at the end of that meeting, we will be able to make a list of instruments and of mechanisms that we may employ in order to be more efficient in solving this protracted conflicts, in calming crises, in de-escalating such evolutions. And at the end of the day, this will help the states which are affected directly by this protracted conflicts. Because, and here it comes again, resilience. It's very important to, well, make these states more resilient in order to be less influenced by such, well, negative evolutions as far as the frozen or protracted conflicts on their territories. Because these conflicts are a sort of, well, a blockage mechanism for their development. They make them focus on these evolutions and focus less on the reform process, for instance, on the democratic process in the respective countries, on the economic development of the respective countries. And I think the EU can do a lot in this respect. So I'm looking forward to that debate, and I hope that we will have some good results to put on the table at the end of the day.
Interesting. Well, we'll all watch for what comes out of that Gimnik discussion. Can I ask you, Minister, can we turn a bit to China's role in the region? We have the One Belt, One Road, which is part of the connectivity, when the region is important from that perspective. And of course, we also have the 17+1, or is it 16+1? I forget. I think the latest number was 17+1 initiative. How do you see relations with China and China's role in the region?
Well, well, it's 17+1. Actually, it's this is the current format. And recently, at the end of February, if I'm not mistaken, a summit of the 17+1 format was organized by China. And as far as Romania was concerned, we have decided to be present at the level of the Minister of Economy. Because our view about this format is that this format should focus only on economic aspects and not on political or ideological issues. So from our perspective, this format needs to be analyzed, and we are doing such an analysis in here back home. Because for the time being, the economic benefits for Romania, at least coming from this format, were not that important. So from this perspective, well, we'll see how the format will evolve. As far as China is concerned, we see an increased interest of China to be present in the region. And I think the pandemic was also used as a platform for China to try to increase its influence with first with the so-called mask diplomacy, then with the distribution of vaccines in the region, including in the EU. I think it's very important to have a pragmatic approach as far as China is concerned, and we have to take into account within the European Union the fact that we see China, according to our strategy adopted in the spring of 2019, at the same time as a partner of negotiation and for reaching certain global objectives, but at the same time as an economic competitor and a systemic rival. So all these form a complex picture of the relationship between EU and China. We have noticed recently, more tensions between EU and China after the sanctions, which were issued by the European Union, and then the reply by China with sanctioning certain EU and EU member states officials. I think it's a very complex picture which needs more analysis, and we will be part of this analysis.
Very good. Maybe a final question, Minister. You talked about other countries in the region, Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, and their greater integration into the, as you described it, the Euro-Atlantic area, NATO, and eventually the EU. Concretely, what do you think? What steps should be taken by NATO and by the EU to further encourage this development? What kind of steps would you like to see taken in the coming months and years to try to proceed with this greater integration into the Euro-Atlantic framework?
Well, I think first, as far as NATO is concerned, I already mentioned the need for enhancing our engagement with the partners, especially with the aspirant countries. And as we have done it already within our trilateral framework, Romania, Poland, and Turkey, I think at the level of NATO as a whole, the debate on NATO 2030 reflection process and on the new strategic concept will allow us to elaborate more on how to support our partners further, and what kind of assistance we can extend to our partners in order to become more resilient, in order to increase their defense capabilities, their cyber defense, their resistance to hybrid threats, and so on. As far as EU is concerned, I think the summit of the Eastern Partnership that we will hopefully organize by the end of this year, which was postponed for several times. I think it will allow us to elaborate more on how the EU can grant more assistance to our Eastern Partnership countries. And I think these countries do need concrete, incentives and concrete support. We have discussed some time ago during a previous Eastern Partnership Summit about the 20 deliverables for 2020. And I think we need to take a look at those deliverables and to see which one was done and which one was not implemented. I'm thinking here out of that list, for instance, to the implementation of the roaming for Eastern Partnership countries. And this was not done, that's for sure. Such kind of concrete gesture might be of great help for the Eastern Partnership countries. But not only, I think more assistance in the field of the rule of law, in the field of supporting the independence of the justice systems, in the field of electoral law, in the field of security, because we witness such evolutions in the field of security. I also think that EU can be active in that area as well, not only NATO. I think all this can create and design a comprehensive package for our Eastern partners in order to help them come closer to the values and to the principles which we uphold within the EU. We are not yet there. We are still working on the preparation of the Eastern Partnership Summit for this year. We are working in various formats bilaterally with some member states. We are working also in some formats within the EU on the preparation of the summit. So I cannot give you a full list of what we can do, but I think we should be ambitious on that. And I think that that our partners do need our support.
Very good. Well, I think, Minister, we're almost out of time. Unless there is any final observation or comment you would like to make, I'd like to thank you very warmly for joining us, for your valuable insights into the region, into some of the issues which Romania is promoting in and around the Black Sea, within NATO, within the EU. As you say, we have an important NATO summit coming up. We will have the Eastern Partnership, and of course, you've announced to us this very interesting discussion in the Gymnich format on the issue of protracted conflict. So this is, the agenda is very full, and we'd like to thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts. And we look forward perhaps to having the opportunity maybe to do this again when some of those events are past and we can see what progress has been made and what remains to be done. So it only remains for me to thank you very much, to thank our participants, and to close the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.